Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Costume Code costume designer interview. And today I am so delighted. I have this amazing guest with us. Her name is Jany Temime. She is the costume designer of Young Sherlock, but many of you, of course, will know her from so many other amazing works that she's done, like House of the Dragon. So I had to shout that out, Jany. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here today. What a delight it is to have you.
Oh, I'm very happy to be with you.
Now, for those who aren't familiar with your work, and I want to know a little bit about you as well, I was just wondering, can you tell us a bit about how you got the start and what it was about costume design that sort of attracted you to this career?
Oh, well, when I said that I started when I was really a little girl by designing dresses for my dolls and dressing them. It is true. It is true. And then I studied completely something different. And then I started working in a fashion magazine in Paris. And then from the fashion magazine, I started in film. And then I stayed in film. So
yes, and you haven't left. So obviously there's something about it that
never left.
you keep going.
I really loved it, and I always love it, and I still love it. So it's really a vocation.
Amazing. And you've worked on so many amazing of our favorite, Harry Potter and so many wonderful, shows and movies over the years. So we thank you so much for that. And no, but I want to talk about Young Sherlock. As I was mentioning to you before we started, I absolutely love this show. I watched it with my husband, and we just, anything that, first of all, I love sort of the meeting of like sort of the old fashioned but the fun contemporary little bit of feel to it. So did you want to tell me, I wasn't familiar with Matthew Parkhill. He's the showrunner. Had you worked with him before, and how did you get involved with this show?
When I was proposed the show, it was a Guy Ritchie show. And then after that, I met Matthew. And when I met Matthew, we became friends straight away because Matthew spent a long time in Paris, and he even wrote a book in Paris. And so we started speaking French together, which is always a lot easier for me. And we had fun together. And then that was a really nice thing because it's always important to work with your friends. But the same thing with Guy Ritchie. I mean, we got along straight away, and I thought that their project of doing something fun and young and dynamic with two gorgeous boys playing Young Sherlock and Moriarty, their friendship, their adventure. Oh, it was such a good idea, and a sort of breath of freshness and adventure, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the script very much when I read them.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't familiar with Hero, but I had seen Donal Finn. I had seen him in Wheel of Time, and he's just, oh my gosh, both of them are so captivating.
Oh,
so.
I worked with Hero when he was 6 years old.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, because he was young Voldemort in Harry Potter. I think he was 6, maybe he was 7. I don't know. He was a little boy, and he was not too happy because we cut his hair. And it is Ralph, his uncle, who said, "I have a nephew who would be a very, very good young Voldemort." And little Hero came. And when I did his first fitting as Young Sherlock, I said, "Hero, do you remember me?" And he said, "No." And I was quiet. And I thought, "Oh, you remember me? I remember you." But it was a big difference between that very tall man and that little boy, so unhappy to have his hair cut and to wear that stupid uniform that he was, an orphan uniform. So I worked with Hero a long time before Young Sherlock.
Isn't that amazing? Wow.
Yes, it is.
So regarding Young Sherlock, just, the whole show entirely, what did you find sort of fun about getting to design the younger version of, this iconic character that we've come to know and love?
What I thought was interesting was when I met Guy Ritchie and he said to me, I said, "What do you want for the costume? How do you want the costume? How do you see the costume?" And he said, "I want a Victorian that you could buy in a shop. I want the public, the public is going to be a young public. and I want them to think that everything is coming from the shop around the corner. Nothing is the shop around the corner, but it's something very modern and very fashionable about everything they wear, that people could think that it come. Actually, we did buy few things, especially at the end when I really wanted to have a sort of a Western look. We did buy things, but it was more the feeling that it was a very reachable Victorian look that people could access to and understand easily. I didn't want it to look like a period piece. I wanted it to look like a very dynamic, fashionable, up-to-date piece. And that was a hell of a lot of work, actually, because you still had to put it in a Victorian time, because if not, it's not rational. It is Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes is an institution in England, and so we did respect few. I tried to put some rules that I wanted. So all the women were having long thing. They were having not real corset, because I wanted them to be able to move. So I just
Yes.
a waist corset, um, a waist piece, for their waist, and to give them the freedom. Some women who insisted on the corset, I gave some corset, because some actresses like to be maintained. So I did give some corset, but mostly no. For the boy, Guy didn't want any top hats, so I gave them bowler hat and caps, and I could see which one looking sexier in what. I tried to modernize the hat as much as I could, and to modernize the look. I also wanted to give, because it's happening in Oxford, so I wanted to give some like this jacket, which is a yachting jacket, and that's something very Oxford, very university, because they have all those race, on the boat. So that boating jacket belongs to the Oxford strap university folklore. So I wanted that. And then,
And of course, that's very Harry Potter too, having a sort of a uniform at school, at uni, as the
you are going to say that I like uniform. I do actually. I like uniform, but I like uniform because it's something. You see, I'm not English, but I live here since a quarter of a century. But I'm not English, so I have a way of seeing what's typically fashionable English on a different way that they do. Like, they love uniform. They love uniform. It's something the kids have uniform at school. What you never have, a French kid will never wear a uniform to go to school. But the English, they like to show where they belong. They have a huge tradition of club, uniform, association, and they like to show which one it is. So I wanted to use that very much. I did it on Harry Potter, and I did it again slightly on Oxford, like I put really the people in the Oxford with the hat, the thing, because it belongs to the education. I mean, Young Sherlock is a gentleman. He is a gentleman, and he is extremely proud. Even if he's just a servant at the university, he is very proud to be able to approach that university. It's a big thing, Oxford, and I thought that the gown that we use in Oxford, the hat, all that folklore was extremely important for the story, because it put us in England and in the social class of. It's the first time that you see the social class, the problem of Moriarty, not belonging. Moriarty doesn't have the breeding of Sherlock Holmes, which is going to be later on a constant frustration. But the social difference between the both is also, I wanted to show that in the clothing, that Young Sherlock is always elegant in a very sort of sober way. And Moriarty is a little bit louder, because it's new money. He wants to show he wants to show how trendy he is. He will wear things that Sherlock is always more classical in these things, more relaxed. It's a little bit the difference between old money and new money, the difference between the two boys.
Well, now that you mentioned that about the class, yes, this is something I wanted to know. So how you differentiated between the two, Moriarty, James Moriarty's, he's obviously on a scholarship
Yeah,
and then he loses his scholarship. So
yeah. And he's
how did you,
Irish.
and he's Irish, which would have would have been a classism thing. I understand that.
Especially in 1860. I mean, in that Victorian time, yes, that makes a difference. That makes a sort of outlaw. Yes, it is.
So
a
did you
difference
do that
between
through?
the boys.
Oh, sorry, Jany. I was going to say, did you do it through silhouette or the fabrics, or how did you go about achieving that?
Between the fabric and the style of the suit. One
Yes.
is much more classical, and the other one is more fancy.
Yeah, he loves the stripes.
Yeah, he loves things which are slightly loud. His taste in clothes. He wants to. It's also he wants to show that he's a good-looking boy. Yeah, he is a little bit on the edge of the elegance.
Yeah, and he's quite the charmer as well. So you're sort of showing his charm.
Very, very charming. You see, I mean, he's in yellow, and the other one are in beige, and then. Yes, I mean, I gave him always a little touch that Sherlock does not need to have because he is elegant. He has a very good braid. It's like his brother, they don't have to show anything anymore. They know that they have it. Was Moriarty
Exactly.
working really hard.
Now, before we move on to some of the characters, I did want to ask you. So, I wasn't familiar with this book, Young Sherlock Holmes by Andrew Lane. Was this something that when you started your journey working on the show, did you read the book? Did you use it as some research for when you prepared your design?
To be honest, no. I met the writer the first day of shooting. No, I think I met the writer during for the reading, and he said to me he was a writer of the book, and I said, well, this is fantastic. And that was it, I never read the book. I thought reading the script. I also thought that it was not really necessary because that series is so much a vision of Guy Ritchie. And it was not necessary to read. It might be a very funny read. I'm not saying that, but it was not necessary for me, for the costume, to read anything new about Sherlock Holmes because that was going to be something different. And I was almost afraid to read something which will push me out of what I had created and wanted to create, which was Guy's vision. And that was very important for me. So I was not really, I never thought that reading the book was a must. I feel sorry about it, but I know I didn't read it.
It's so funny because I just did an interview the other day with Anne Crabtree, who is doing a new show, and she said we were talking about reading the book sometimes can get in your head, and it interferes with you can when you're coming up with your vision of what the trajectory of the characters, it can sometimes confuse you. So she oftentimes doesn't so some other designers I've spoken to say they prefer sometimes not to read the book.
Yeah, no, it is true because then it puts you back in another vision. I mean, those guys, the writer, the showrunner, the director, they have been doing that work before us. They have been picking up from the book what they needed for their show. And if you start going back to it, you start thinking, hey, why did they lose that element? Why did they lose that element? That was important. No, it's not important for them, so it shouldn't be important for us. We have to move on and to look at what they created and to design for what they want to show. And I think it's important. And that's why I did read the book when I was doing Harry Potter. I read the book but it was not so much to know about the film we were doing, but the future of the character. Because what was on Harry Potter, nothing was written, so it was quite embarrassing. We didn't know who was going to die, who was going to be a hero, who was going to survive. But that's not now the problem that we have.
Now, I've been a fan of Guy Ritchie going back like to, is it Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, all these wonderful movies that he's done over the years. But, he did the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes and then Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. So I wanted to know, was there some discussion? Is this in the same world? And if so, did that inform your design at all?
Well, we are 10 years later, and we are talking about the young Sherlock and the young Moriarty and the young Mycroft. So we are somewhere else. I enjoy the film. I enjoy the energy of the film, the fun of the film, the adventure of the film, and I thought it was absolutely perfect the way they were. But we are telling another story, and we are going further, I think, than the film were. We're also like, what is it, 15 years later? Different.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Now, I know you touched on this about how you had that they sort of, Guy Ritchie gave you this sort of idea that you would be able to buy these clothes. So
eventually, that was the start that he wanted. He never asked me to go and buy.
No, but I'm assuming though that you did have to create these and have this Victorian sort of feeling. By the way, when I'm watching it, I never once thought, oh wow, that's very anachronistic. It always felt very fitting into the world, right?
That was exactly that was the challenge of it. That's what I was telling you, that I have been respecting few things, like for the woman, the shape, for the man, the shape, always 3 buttons in the suit, so almost 4 buttons in the suit, always collar with 3 buttons. I have been fixing myself some rules. I had 2 sort of suit, the suit a la Mycroft, the suit a la Young Sherlock. I wanted to show, I had very strict rules. The trouser was always high. They were always wearing braces. I had some rules to keep. I picked up out of the Victorian time, which I thought was essential for the look, was creating that Victorian time. But in the same time, when I had those rules, I started to go further and project them in the 21st century. So, for instance, half of the women, they wear culottes. Those skirts are culottes, so they can move with it. And
interesting. Yes.
Yeah. What you see now, that beige skirt is a culotte. She will be able to run around, to ride a horse, to ride a moto if she wanted. They had the possibility of moving, the ladies.
Yeah, I did actually see something historical years back about Victorian women in that era that they would wear a split skirt, like you call them a culotte. It's so cool. Bicycles, exactly, for sure. Yes, because the side saddle thing was done by then.
Victorian time is a very modern period. It was very modern at that time. It was the electricity was there, the train, the transport, the bicycle, the sport for women. Victorian is also the colors. It's really a turn of modernism. It was very strong, so we can use that.
Now, the series, there's so many surprises along the way. Like I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? And I don't want to give any spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. But Sherlock, he has quite the arc that happens throughout the season. He discovers all of these things that he believed to be true are not true. So with his journey, how did you reflect that in his costumes? And did you reflect that in his costumes?
Yeah, he starts being a little bit more sure of himself. He starts wearing clothes on a very. He will never be like his brother, because Mycroft is Mycroft and he has another shape of suit.
Here's Mycroft here,
which is more classical. I did the shoulder slightly tighter and higher. He's more, his tailoring is tighter, but. Sherlock is, although I kept him in the tweed, it's a big difference. He becomes more daring towards the end. Maybe also because of Moriarty influence. He's with Moriarty a lot, so he starts wearing things a little bit more daring than before. but he stick to all the English typical clothing, tweed, checked, Prince of Wales. I didn't use Prince of Wales because I thought Prince of Wales is really a lot later, but checked, a cord, wool. I mean, he's wearing all that. He is wearing all that. And the caps that I love on him. He loved that
Oh,
cap.
yes.
Cap was his favorite, and then it was like, oh my God, I hope we will never lose it because he loves it so much. So the cap was like a piece of jewelry. We were really always hiding it to make sure to never lose it.
Yeah, I love the shape of it. Is it the one that has a snap, or is that later? But it's got that nice curve in
I
the,
don't think it has a snap. I
yeah.
cannot. I don't think it has a snap. No, 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 no. It's just all by itself. It's a miracle. It's a miracle cap that we found, and then we tried to copy it at the end because we needed it in a lighter color.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, okay. There it is again.
yeah, and actually it was no. This is the one. It is something that I found, and the one at the end is a remake, and it's not as good. Somehow it's not as good as that one. That's not the one. But bon, okay, we found somebody who could make it almost as good as that one.
Now, James, oh my gosh, he's like, I just love his character so much in this because, like you say, he's charming. He's sort of like, he's Irish, so he brings that to it. And he's really had to scrape to get to where he is now. Like, he's sort of like new, like, I don't want to say he's not new money yet, but he's sort of, he's aspiring to greater heights. So do you want to tell me a little bit about your approach to designing him? And how did you, we were talking a little bit about class distinction. I know
like what I told you, he is more daring in his elegance. He tried to show he is more, that a true English gentleman doesn't really care about his clothes. They do like they don't care. They spend a lot of time, a lot of money on it, but they do like they don't care. While Moriarty cares about his clothes. He loved it. He loved his clothes. And Evan Donald, he really loved what he was wearing. And I gave him a different sort of shirt. His tie are more loud than Sherlock, but the collar are more open also.
Like Sherlock's are rounded collar?
Yeah. A little bit brave. While Moriarty is always more daring. One is a little bit of a little dandy. He has something very dandy-like in him.
Yeah, I can imagine him checking himself in the mirror, just making almost like trying to create this persona for himself. And also, how were the fittings with your two young leads? Were they?
Oh, they are so nice. They are so nice. I tell you, they are adorable. They're both adorable. I mean, I have no. They were working so hard, and they were always in such a good mood and so lovely with everybody. Fantastic. I mean, all the cast was so nice. I cannot say anything. I never saw a bunch of actors getting along so wonderfully and being so happy to be with each other and working so nice and staying polite. The boys are so polite. It's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing? And of course, we have Joseph Fiennes playing Silas, who is related to Hero, which is, I didn't know this until I looked it up after. So that was very cool to learn that. I guess it's his uncle.
He was very tense about working with his uncle.
Really?
He was trying to, you work with everybody, and then you work with your uncle, and you act.
Yes.
And oh my God, he's going to judge me. How is he going to judge me? And he was Hero was a little bit tense about it, and he had the first scene he had to do with Joseph was a really long scene, and Joseph was saying, "Yeah, you are doing really well," and then he was very happy to be.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, but this is cool. You play with your colleague, but to play with family, that must be different.
Yes.
to be.
Now, I just wanted to touch a little bit about the women's costumes. Do you want to tell? I mean, I know you mentioned about the silhouette with you did like a waist sort of corset and the
Yeah.
culottes and so on. I also did see one of your embroidery artists on Instagram. It popped
Yeah.
up like some beautiful, beautiful like embroidery. Did you just want to tell me a little bit about the women's costumes? Like I just have a few
Well,
pictures only.
She's supposed to be a Chinese princess. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring some Orientalism in her costume.
Sure.
That it was something Oriental, and then I think that when you have all this embroidery are very, very Chinese looking, and it is very important to put that in her costume because for a very long time we believe that she is a Chinese royalty. So all the golden embroidery really belong to that Chinese culture.
By the way, do you say her name Shu Wei?
Shuan. I always called her Shuan, but
Shuan. Okay.
I have a French accent, so that's not going to
Yes.
help too much. But Shuan.
Yeah, because she's in disguise. She's pretending, and then we find out who she actually is, which is sort of a bit of a spoiler. But we can't have this discussion. Yeah. No, I love it because, and even as she has that gorgeous costume when she is pretending to be the princess in the carriage when she gets abducted, what have you. So that was, and then her escort, of course. So those were just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, very beautiful, very beautiful. But what was hard was that we put the costume on her and we fitted her for hours, the sleeve, the thing, the embroidery. It was very complicated costume. Then we learned, we heard that she was going to be on top of Sherlock, Young Sherlock. And I thought, oh my God, with that tight dress. So we had to open the dress and I put some plissé, some chiffon plissé in the middle to allow her to do her little sexual acrobacy. And then after that, she told us, by the way, I just rehearsed the fight and I have to fight. And I said, what? You have to fight with that costume? Is impossible. So we had to put all the seams, we had to put some elastic in between and some godet here. And then she was rehearsing and we did that little by little because she had to rehearse the fight with the costume. And when it was not going well, we had to put, we had to understand, it was so complicated. But every seam has a sort of elastic allowance to move and come back, move and come back. It was very, very difficult costume. And
it's like working in ballet.
Yeah, exactly. And then we heard that when the costume was finished, of course,
Yeah, well, that brings me to this question I have for you because it's a very heavy action, show, lots of fight sequences, lots of stunts. So what other, you mentioned using elastic in the seams and adding gores and
a sort of jersey elastic. We put the seam like that, and under that we put some elastic so the seam can move. Yes.
Okay, so what other techniques did you have to do for some of the cast to allow for all the fight scenes and so on, and also the stunt people?
Well, we did that for her all the time. We had the culotte. We put her in trousers. Then we had again to put, and then I had to put I had to dye all her petticoats, which were white. I had to dye them in the color of the skirt because when she was turning over, that white was quite strong and ugly. So we had to dye every single petticoat with the colors of the thing. And then we had to use the shoes, put things on the shoes. It was a terrible work.
Yeah, because things could get caught right on the shoes and so on. You have to file down everything.
When they jump and they are in sport shoes, it's fine. But when they jump and they are in little bottine with a little bit of a heel, first you take off the heel, then you put some special sole on the. It was extremely complicated because of course the fight are always rehearsed when the costumes are finished. So. You know that you are going to have problems, but you just don't want to think about them before it's finished, before the fight are really choreographed.
Yes, that's so much to think about. And then also, even the men, did they have to have a little bit of ease in their jackets or
Yes,
their waistcoats so that
for
they
the
could fight?
men, it's slightly easier because even if we put some gousset in the trouser to give it a little bit more space, it's still a trousers, you know. It's more the woman
Exactly.
being more problem for the acrobatic fights.
Now, I have a few questions left for you. So, one is there's so many, like, there's quite a few timelines, like multiple, like flashback sequences and everything. So, how did your team and yourself, of course, what was the challenge behind that? And, um, and also, how did you give it that sort of cohesive look, that we're looking back at mom and dad and the children, and then flash forward to the adult version?
We work really around the clock, and we work constantly. It was very intensive because the rhythm was very quick, and um, but we were in Wales. You know, Wales is not London. Wales is outside of London, so it's not so much to do there but work. I was, I was
They isolated you on purpose so that you had no choice.
no. That is not. We were not in a jail, but I was
Yeah.
not the thing. But I'm not saying we were happy to work, but I think we had plenty of time to work. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And then it was very intensive, very intensive. And then also but what is good is that with Matthew, all the script, we knew the story, so we
Oh,
knew
that's good.
yes, everything. Not all the script were written, but the storyline was there. So you know who is developing in what, and you can sort of plan it a little bit. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you have an idea of how the characters are going to develop. So that was quite good.
Well, I just want to commend you and your team. What an amazing accomplishment! It looks so gorgeous. So I highly recommend everyone watching it, especially if you're a Guy Ritchie fan. I have a picture of him here, by the way. Where is he here? He's working. He's
Ah,
having a moment of contemplation. Where is this, by the way? This is beautiful.
this is in Oxford. I was telling you,
Oh,
we really shot in
you
Oxford.
actually shot in Oxford.
Yeah. We shot in Oxford, which is an incredible town full of old monuments. And this is the outside of the explosion. So first when they
Ah,
come in, and after that, just after the explosion, when they come out all dirty, when they run out outside.
yeah, and of course you got to work with the magnificent Colin Firth as well,
Oh,
who
I
is
love, I
so
love
funny
him
in
so
this.
much. I love him so much. He is wearing clothes brilliantly with
Oh,
an elegance.
absolutely.
Yeah. He's really good. I wanted to give him something really strong, a very strong color, a strong check that he could really be um, yes, very industrial. I wanted him to look like a businessman. I thought when people look at him, they shouldn't think it's a Victorian gentleman. They should think it's a very successful businessman. That was the most important message that we had about him, and that I
And then
wanted to.
I wanted to ask you about this picture here. Whereabouts is this location that you
Oh, you will
shot?
never believe we shot that in Jerez, which
Oh,
is a
wow.
town in Spain, in Castilla. And
Oh, it's just
we
stunning.
transfer which have a huge Arabic in heritage, as you
Hmm.
know, and we transform that the decor did an incredible job, and they transform that in a city in an Arabic actually in Istanbul, Constantinople, and I had all those costumes made in Turkey
Oh,
by yes. We had a team in Turkey who produced 200 costume who arrive, and I had a Turkish assistant with whom I work since James Bond. I worked with her since 30 years, and I met her on that, and she dressed. You know, she helped us to dress all those people. So it is authentic.
yeah. So you would have had a lot of background players that day. You had
Oh
a
yeah,
large,
200,
and you hired local folks to do
No.
that
Oh yeah. The
for
extras
in
were
Spain.
local, but the assistant designer was a Turkish lady that I knew since.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, no,
My what I was going to say, I love the palette here, like the color palette, so
the
beautiful.
color palette is for me, but the
Hmm.
manufacture of all those clothes come from Istanbul. She had them made there, and then you can see that because they do have a very Turkish character, and I'm so happy we used it because we were not shooting in Istanbul. It was very important to give the authenticity by the costume of the locals. But
Hmm.
all the extra you see are Spanish extras.
That's amazing. And then of course Silas, he's very old money, but also he has traveled a lot. So you have sort of some of those influences, I
Yes,
gather,
yes, 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 yes. I made
from
him
his.
like an international
Mhm.
aventurier. You know, he's a bad,
Yes.
yeah, well, he's a bad man, but so sexy. Yeah.
Yes, it was very disappointing to find that out.
Yeah, well, you know, the bad men
Yeah,
are always sexy. So anyone.
exactly. And then, of course, I just wanted to mention also beautiful Cordelia. She's just
Oh,
back there.
Cordelia.
Um,
Amazing, amazing Cordelia.
Natasha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here's just one little picture of her. But her again, so she has comes from quite a bit of money and but very elegant. And what I found with her, it felt like it's like she wasn't because she had been kept in an asylum, so a lot of the clothes she was wearing felt to me like she might have had them in her closet, very classic. But
Yeah.
would she have had some new pieces made
Yes, yes,
after
yes, yes,
her
yes.
release?
I think it's when she comes to. I think that she's an artist. She's a painter, and
Yeah.
I always wanted to feel that. So the blouse she's wearing is an Indian fabric. I always gave her. Although she has classical clothes that she had from when she was married,
Hmm.
she was a rich lady. But I always gave in the fabric I choose for the blouses some details, very arty crafty. Like now she has a blouse with an Indian blouse, like something a little bit
Hmm.
hippie. I'm not saying
Yeah.
hippie, but
Yeah. She's
something.
very creative.
Yeah, 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 yeah. She's a special lady. She's an artist, and I wanted to show that.
Hmm. I also love how she gets involved on the capers. Like she sort of she'll disguise herself and she wants to be involved. What the boys are
Yeah, but
doing.
she has so
So
much to catch up. I mean, she spent 10 years in an asylum, so when she comes
yeah,
out, yes, she wants to embrace life. I like that. I mean, it's so wonderful that they write about a mature woman on such a fantastic way because
for
yes,
sure.
yes, I'm a plus 40 and I just want to enjoy life and I want to go on adventure. And she said to her son, "Your life is much more funny than mine." Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now, before we wrap up, now you were mentioning just before we started that there is a season 2, so this is super
Yes,
exciting. And
that
are
I
you
am
prepping?
working on now.
You're
Yeah.
working on it. Okay. Do you know
And
where
I'm not
you'll
allowed
be?
to say anything, but it's going to be even better than season one.
Oh, I can't wait. Are you allowed to share where you will be shooting? Will you be back to Wales, or do you have other
No, 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 we
locations?
are not back to Wales. Wales
Oh,
is
you're
finished
not.
for the moment.
Okay.
No, no, I'm not allowed. We are working from a studio in London.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we are
And then,
back.
and Jenny, aside from doing Sherlock Holmes, is it like since you've done House of the Dragon, and was there anything else that you've been working on that you're allowed to share with me?
Lara Croft,
And which network is that on?
Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider.
Oh, Tomb Raider! Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
yes,
amazing! And is that with Sophie Turner?
yes, Sophie Turner, Amazon.
Oh, that is very exciting. And
Yes,
when are
very,
we?
very, very,
Uh,
very,
I think
very.
she'll be a wonderful Lara Croft.
She is, my love. She's like a statue. The
Yeah, she
muscles.
is. She's so tall and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, she's gorgeous. Yeah.
And is who can are you able to tell me who the male sort of lead in the movie is as well?
No, I'm not
Oh, you're not
allowed to.
allowed to tell me. Okay. And do we know when it will be coming out? Or you're not
Well,
allowed to tell me that?
if I knew, I will tell you, but I don't have.
Okay.
No, I think it will be next year, but I don't know
Oh,
when.
okay. But you're done your part though, right? Is that correct? You're done your
Oh well,
segment?
I'm still doing few things on it.
Okay. So you're like kind of in a couple of different worlds right now. You're in the Tomb Raider world, you're in the Sherlock Holmes world,
Well, both are nice.
and
Both.
hopefully you get a little vacation.
Yeah, well, that's something else. That's something else.
Yes.
The holidays is for later.
Okay.
I think now there are so many adventures to live. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and talking about Young Sherlock. What a wonderful show. And I am so excited. I hope we can have many seasons until these young men
Yeah,
get, too
yeah,
old.
yeah. A lot of adventure. Thank you
A
very
lot more
much.
fun.
It was lovely
Well,
speaking with you.
it was
Bye bye.
very lovely speaking with you as well. And to
Bye
everyone
bye
who's
bye bye bye
watching, yeah, to
bye
everyone who's watching, the show is on Prime right now. So please go and watch.
bye bye.
Okay, have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.